29 points. One tied record. One player who literally overheated on the court. And a rivalry that got so heated, two players had to be separated by officials. This is the night Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever walked into Canada for the first time ever, and walked out having rewritten the WNBA record book. Stick around, because by the end of this video you're going to understand exactly how a routine road win turned into one of the wildest nights of the season. But here's the thing nobody was talking about before tip-off: the real story of this game wasn't going to be the final score. It was going to be a mystery that started brewing in the third quarter and didn't get answered until the players were already off the court. Why did one of the Fever's two best players suddenly vanish for the entire fourth quarter of the biggest game of the season? Keep watching, because the answer says a lot about just how intense this night actually got. Before we get into it, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button now, because we're breaking down every twist of this game, and you don't want to miss the ending. Let's set the stage, because this wasn't just any regular season game. On August 18, 2026, the Indiana Fever made their first ever trip to play the Toronto Tempo, the newest team in the WNBA, and the very first professional women's basketball franchise based outside the United States. Toronto is barely a few months old as a franchise, and it already had one of the most star-studded ownership groups in sports, including Serena Williams, Masai Ujiri, and Lily Singh. But on this night, the spotlight wasn't on the owners in the front row. It was on the two jerseys most people in that building came to see: Caitlin Clark's number 22, and Kelsey Mitchell's number 0. The game was moved into the massive Scotiabank Arena, home of the Toronto Raptors, with more than 21,000 fans expected to pack the building. Think about that for a second: a WNBA regular season game, drawing NBA-sized crowds, in a city that didn't even have a team a year earlier. That alone tells you how far this league has come. And a huge part of that surge has a name: Caitlin Clark. The Fever rolled into Toronto white-hot. They were riding a 4-game winning streak, fresh off a gritty 95-91 overtime win over Angel Reese and the Atlanta Dream just 2 nights earlier. Clark had dropped 26 points and 9 assists in that one, and the Fever were sitting in 4th place in the East, clawing for playoff positioning with just over a month left in the season. Every single game mattered now. On the other side, the Tempo were in a very different spot. As an expansion team playing their first ever WNBA season, they were still finding their footing, and they came into this game riding a rough 10-game home losing streak. Over their previous 10 outings, they'd been giving up nearly 99 points a night. On paper, this had blowout written all over it. On the court, it very much did not go that way, at least, not for long. First quarter, the storm arrives. From the opening tip, it was clear the Fever came to make a statement. Aaliyah Boston found Kelsey Mitchell early, and Mitchell needed almost no time to get going. Within minutes she was pulling up from 3, slicing to the rim, doing everything short of setting up a lemonade stand at half-court. By the time the first quarter buzzer sounded, Mitchell alone had scored 16 points. 16. In one quarter. Against a Toronto defense that simply had no answer. Clark, meanwhile, was doing what Clark does, setting the table, pushing pace, and popping in a few buckets of her own to keep the Tempo defense honest. The building, which had come out loud and electric for its first ever look at Clark on Canadian soil, started to quiet down fast as the Fever built an early cushion. But if you know anything about this Toronto crowd, you knew the silence wasn't going to last. Because sitting on the Fever bench, waiting for her moment, was a player who was about to become this crowd's new least favorite person, for reasons that had absolutely nothing to do with basketball skill, and everything to do with attitude. Second quarter, cracks and comebacks. As the second quarter opened, the Tempo finally started finding their rhythm. Guard play from Kiki Rice and some physical post work from Anissa Morrow started chipping into Indiana's lead, and the crowd came back to life with every basket. Then Sophie Cunningham checked in, and the mood in the building shifted instantly. She was met with boos every time she touched the ball. Whether it was her reputation as one of the league's most fearless trash talkers, or simply Toronto fans looking for a villain to rally against, Cunningham had officially become this crowd's target for the night. She didn't back down. In fact, she answered the noise the way she usually does, by hitting shots. It was a pattern that would repeat itself all night. The louder the boos got, the better she seemed to play. Indiana pushed the lead out further before halftime, with Clark and Mitchell trading buckets and Aaliyah Boston doing the dirty work inside. By the break, the Fever were firmly in control. But anyone who has watched this Toronto team knows they don't fold quietly, and the second half was about to prove exactly why you never leave a game early. Third quarter, tempers flare. This is where things got interesting. Early in the third quarter, Kelsey Mitchell and Toronto's Mitchell-Mabrey got tangled up after a hard-fought possession, and it escalated fast. Words were exchanged, bodies squared up, and officials had to step in before things went further. Both players were hit with technical fouls. For a player like Mitchell, who's normally one of the more composed presences on the floor, seeing her get that fired up told you everything about how much this game meant. And fired up she stayed. Right after the confrontation, Mitchell caught fire again, hitting back-to-back threes and an and one in the span of about 60 seconds, pushing Indiana's lead back out into double digits. It was one of the most dominant single-quarter stretches you'll see all season, and it set up a milestone that wouldn't become clear until much later. By the end of the third, Mitchell had already climbed past the 20-point mark for the night. Somewhere in the stands, and in the Fever's front office, people were quietly doing the math, because this wasn't just another good scoring night. This was about to make history. But right as the Fever appeared to be cruising toward a comfortable win, something strange happened. As the fourth quarter began, Kelsey Mitchell, the same player who had just torched Toronto for 29 points and dragged her team through a heated confrontation, was nowhere to be found on the court. Fourth quarter, the disappearance. This is the moment we teased at the start of the video. Mitchell sat the entire fourth quarter. No explanation on the broadcast in the moment, no update on the scoreboard, just an empty spot where one of the Fever's best players should have been. And Toronto, sensing an opening, started clawing back. Mitchell-Mabrey caught fire from deep, hitting back-to-back threes to cut the lead down to just 4 points late in the game. Suddenly a game that looked like a laugher was turning into a genuine nail-biter. Fever fans watching at home were refreshing their phones trying to figure out what was going on with Mitchell, while Toronto fans were daring to believe in a comeback. It didn't happen. The Fever's defense tightened up just enough down the stretch, and Indiana escaped Toronto with a 101-95 win, their fifth straight victory, and a huge step forward in the playoff race. Caitlin Clark finished with 24 points on the night. Anissa Morrow led Toronto with 15 points and 16 rebounds, with Temi Fagbenel adding 13 and Kiki Rice chipping in 10. Toronto's Brittany Sykes, playing in her first game back after more than 2 months out with a foot injury, also got minutes in her return, a small but meaningful storyline in a night full of them. So what actually happened to Kelsey Mitchell? The answer, and the records that fell. After the game, Fever head coach Stephanie White cleared it up. Mitchell wasn't injured. She was overheated. The Scotiabank Arena had been running hot all night, and it was the second straight road game where the Fever had played in brutal heat. White said all the signs pointed to Mitchell simply overheating on the court, nothing more serious than that. Caitlin Clark, ever the comedian in post-game interviews, joked to ESPN's Holly Rowe afterward that it might help if Canada invested in air conditioning, saying it felt like 1,000,000 degrees out there. The team, she admitted, didn't play their best, but a win is a win, especially with the playoff race tightening up. And here's the part that made this night more than just another checkmark in the win column. Even without playing a single minute in the fourth quarter, Kelsey Mitchell's 29 points meant she had now scored 20 or more points in 20 straight games, tying the all-time WNBA record, a mark previously held solely by Aya Wilson. 20 games. Not one off night in there. That is an absurd level of consistency for any player in any sport. But the record-breaking didn't stop there. With both Clark and Mitchell scoring 20-plus points in the same game, the Fever's dynamic duo hit a milestone of their own. this was now the 16th time this season the pair had each cleared 20 points in the same contest. That broke the WNBA's single-season record for a duo, surpassing the mark of 15 set all the way back in 2008 by Diana Taurasi and Cappie Pondexter with the Phoenix Mercury. Think about that. A record that stood for nearly 2 decades, broken by 2 guards on a team that, just a couple of years ago, was fighting to stay out of the league's basement. Sophie Cunningham's classy response. One more moment from this night deserves its own spotlight. Remember Sophie Cunningham getting booed relentlessly by the Toronto crowd all game long? After the final buzzer, a reporter asked her directly about it. Instead of getting defensive or firing back at the fans, Cunningham did something that instantly won a lot of people over. She thanked the Toronto crowd for their energy, called out how passionate and loud they were for their brand new team, and said that's exactly what makes sports special. You're going to get booed, you're going to get cheered, and either way it means people care. No shade thrown, no excuses, just genuine respect for a fanbase that clearly gave her nothing but grief for 40 minutes straight. It was a small moment in a night full of big ones, but it said a lot about how far this league, and this particular rivalry, has come. A brand new fanbase in a brand new city, passionate enough to boo an opposing player relentlessly, and mature enough to be thanked for it afterward. Why this game actually mattered. Step back for a second and look at the bigger picture here. This wasn't just a mid-August regular season game between a contender and a rebuilding expansion team. This was Caitlin Clark's first ever appearance in Canada, played in front of a sellout NBA arena, in a city that didn't have a WNBA team until this year. It featured 2 separate all-time records falling in the same 48 minutes. It had a heated on-court confrontation, a mysterious late-game disappearance with a genuinely funny explanation, and a viral moment of sportsmanship in the aftermath. If you wanted a single game that captured everything this era of women's basketball has become, the stakes, the personalities, the growing pains of a brand new franchise, and the sheer gravitational pull of Caitlin Clark, this was it. The Fever walked away 24-12, winners of 5 straight, firmly in the playoff hunt with just a few weeks left in the regular season. And somewhere in Toronto, a brand new fanbase walked away from a tough loss having just witnessed one of the most electric nights in their franchise's short history. So that's the full story of the night the Fever made history in Toronto, the record-tying streak, the record-breaking duo, the confrontation, the disappearance, and the classy moment that closed it all out. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you're subscribed and you've got that notification bell on, because this Fever team is chasing even more history before the season is out, and you are not going to want to miss what happens next. Drop a comment and let me know, do you think Mitchell and Clark can keep this pace up all the way through the playoffs? I'll see you in the next one.